On the early morning of October 13th, 2017, an urgent call was made. This was no ordinary request for help. The dispatcher, upon hearing the details, immediately alerted the Atlanta Police Department's Zone 4. The location? Howell Place, nestled in the Oakland City West End neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia.
I just received a call from my child's mother that two of my youngest two dead babies, my sons, are dead in an apartment.
Okay, there's a lot of background noise. There what in an apartment, sir?
I just received a call that two of my kids are dead inside of an apartment.
Okay, did she call 911? What's the address?
No, she didn't call 911. She called me and she video called me. And showed me this, and I seen it.
What's the address?
And I really think they are really dead.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Jamil Penn.
Okay.
I want to know if they actually dead. Please give me a call. Please give me a call back as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll get a unit out there to check it out, okay?
I'm sorry?
We'll get an officer out there to check it out, okay?
All right.
All right.
As officers rushed toward the residence mentioned by the father, another call came in. This time, it was the mother. Her voice carried similar details, amplifying the gravity of the situation. The urgency doubled, and more patrol units were dispatched to the scene. Neighbors gathered outside the residence of Lamora Williams. Confusion painted their faces as whispers filled the air. Something unimaginable was unfolding behind those walls. When officers stepped inside the apartment, they were struck by a chilling sight. Lamora stood motionless. Her face, pale and eerily calm, betrayed no emotion. By her side was a 3-year-old boy, silent and wide-eyed. The kitchen held the most harrowing discovery. A flipped oven lay in disarray. Peeking from beneath it were small, lifeless feet. Officers lifted the appliance and found not one, but 2 small bodies. The victims were 1-year-old Jacarter Penn and his 2-year-old brother, Kayante Penn. The scene was devastating. The signs of burns on the children's bodies pointed to unspeakable suffering. It was a moment that even the most seasoned officers couldn't have prepared for. When questioned, Lamora told the officers that she had left her children in the care of a relative. Upon returning, she claimed to find her apartment door ajar and her children in this horrific state. Her calm demeanor during the explanation left investigators unsettled. What complicated the story further was a call made earlier by the father, Jamil Penn. In his call, he revealed something chilling. Lamora had video called him, showing the lifeless bodies of their children. From the start, the officers felt that Lamora was withholding something. Suspicions grew, and the oven was collected as evidence. Lamora was taken in for further questioning, while Jamil was summoned to retrieve his surviving child, Jamil Penn Jr. Meanwhile, investigators canvassed the neighborhood, speaking to neighbors and friends. Not a single witness reported seeing anyone enter or leave the apartment in hours. The relative Lamora mentioned, no one had ever seen such a person. The detectives knew the answers lay somewhere in Lamora's story. As they returned to the station, they began by reviewing her call to emergency services.
Atlanta 911, operator 7054. What's the address in your name?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, and this is a serious matter. I just left my cousin in the house with my kids. She just left my kids in the house when I came back from work, and my kids, 2 of my kids are dead. What do I gotta do? They dead. She left them dead in the house by themselves.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Where are you now?
I'm in my house. She left my door open. My baby boy, my oldest baby boy, is the only one that's here, only one that's alive. She left them in the house by themselves. She left them in here, and they knocked the stove on. Can you listen? When I came in, the stove was laying on my youngest son's head, and my other son was laid out on the floor with his brains laid out on the floor. I don't know what to do. I just came home to work from this. And she just left my baby there.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna get EMS and I'm gonna get police and fire at the location. Can you tell me where you're located?
Ma'am, I can't even talk. This is so serious. I'm so scared. I don't want to get locked up because I was at work.
Okay, ma'am.
I
understand that you're scared. I completely understand, but I need to get some help out there to you now. Can you tell me where you're located?
I understand that, but can you please help me? Like, can you please tell me, like, I don't want to get locked up because this is not my fault. I had just came home from work. I just came home from work.
Yes, ma'am.
I just came home from work.
Okay. Ma'am, the first thing that I need to do is get some help out there to you. I understand that you're upset and you're scared.
They've been in here dead. Like, it's no way in the... She left my baby dead.
Okay.
And I don't have no way to reach her.
If you're not sure, if you were at work, ma'am, listen to me. If you were at work while this happened, then the responsibility is going to fall on your sister if that's who you left them with. Okay? Okay, hold on one moment because I'm going to also get EMS on the line as well, okay?
Yes,
Hold
please.
on one moment. Yes, ma'am. Stay on the line with me, though. Hold on one moment for me.
Okay.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in the stove dead, and I just came home from work. My cousin was babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
All right, wait. So is your son, is he obviously dead? Is he breathing at all? Can you tell me?
He's dead. He's burnt. Both of my children are dead. Their head is burnt. Their skull is laying on this floor. The stove is, one of my babies is stuck. The stove is pulled over and everything.
All right, Elena, can we get PD started to this location? I'm operator 839.
Yes, we have PD and fire already en route to that location.
All right, thank you so much.
Please hurry up, please.
All right, ma'am. I'm en route, okay? We're en route.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Listening to Lamora's call revealed unsettling details. She expressed no sorrow over her children's deaths. Instead, her focus was on whether she would be blamed for their deaths or accused of neglect. The call was devoid of grief or panic, steering the case toward a grim suspicion that Lamora herself might be responsible. But to uncover the truth, the detectives needed to understand Lamora's life. What had shaped the young woman whose name was now at the center of this tragedy? Born in 1993, Lamora was 24 years old at the time of the incident. From a young age, she showed signs of being different. She was quiet, often avoiding interactions with other children. Her struggles in school became evident early on. Her parents, Brenda and Williams, decided to homeschool her during elementary years, hoping to give her the special attention she needed. Though Lamora eventually rejoined mainstream schooling, she remained academically behind her peers. She made it to high school but faced challenges that marked her as an outsider. In 2012, she met Jamil Penn through mutual friends. From the start, there was a connection. They became inseparable, and before long, Jamil confessed his love for her. The relationship blossomed, and within a year they welcomed their first child, Jamil Penn Jr. But cracks soon appeared in their seemingly happy life. Lamora showed little interest in motherhood. Jamil, despite working hard to provide for the family, found himself cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children. Whenever he brought up Lamora's lack of involvement, her responses were shallow and dismissive. Brenda Williams, Lamora's mother, saw the growing strain in Jamil. She decided to share something she had kept hidden for years. Lamora had a history of psychological issues. Her homeschooling wasn't just about academics. It was a way to manage her mental health. As a child, Lamora exhibited alarming behaviors. She would decapitate her siblings' toys or destroy their belongings in chilling, calculated ways. Brenda and William had sought professional help, but the scars of those early years never fully healed. Jamil struggled to reconcile the Lamora he loved with these revelations. Hoping to ease the tension, he turned to Lamora's father for support. Understanding Jamil's plight, William suggested the couple move in with him. This arrangement, he believed, would relieve Jamil's burden and teach Lamora the responsibilities of motherhood. For a time, the plan seemed to work. Lamora's father stepped in as a stabilizing force, but nothing could have prepared Jamil for the day that changed their lives forever. In November 2014, Jamil was on a rare day off. As usual, he planned to relax and watch TV, expecting to see Lamora's father in his usual spot in the living room. But that day, the man didn't emerge from his bedroom. Initially, Jamil assumed he was just sleeping late. Yet, as the hours ticked by, his absence became more noticeable. By 4 in the afternoon, concern pushed Jamil to check on him. The moment he opened the door, dread washed over him. Lamora's father was unresponsive, his face an alarming shade of blue. Medical examiners later confirmed he had passed from a heart attack approximately 12 hours earlier. The loss was devastating. For Lamora, her father wasn't just family. He was her rock, her confidant, and the one she leaned on in every crisis. Jamil, knowing how deeply Lamora relied on her father, decided to set aside their ongoing conflicts. He provided her with unwavering support during this dark time, putting her needs above his frustrations. The couple moved into their own home in Howell Place within the Oakland City West End neighborhood. Between 2015 and 2017, Lamora and Jamil welcomed 2 more children, Kayante Penn and Jakarta Penn. But even with their growing family, the cracks in their relationship deepened. Jamil continued to support Lamora emotionally and financially, yet her behavior grew more troubling. Lamora became increasingly aggressive toward Jamil. She also began neglecting her children, leaving them without food for hours at a time. The once manageable tension in their home escalated into frequent arguments. At times, the situation became so unbearable that Jamil would call his father, Jamil Hassan, to come and take him away from the house. The strain didn't go unnoticed by Jamil's family, who disapproved of how their son was living. They saw his efforts to maintain the relationship as futile. Desperate to salvage the situation, Jamil reached out to Lamora's family. He spoke with her mother Brenda and sister Tabitha Hollingsworth, hoping they might offer a solution. Both women sympathized with Jamil, acknowledging that Lamora's behavior was the root of the problem. Yet they admitted their previous attempts to help her change had all failed. They cautioned Jamil that leaving Lamora might push her over the edge. But by this point, their words felt like excuses to him. In June 2017, after yet another explosive argument, Jamil made a life-altering decision. He ended the relationship with Lamora for good. Though he promised to continue supporting his children financially, he resolved to move on from the chaos that had consumed his life. For Lamora, the separation marked the unraveling of her world. Already reeling from the loss of her father, the departure of her partner left her feeling abandoned and adrift. Her behavior took a darker turn. She frequently left her children unattended and without food. Brenda, alarmed by her daughter's worsening state, pleaded with authorities to intervene. She sought custody of the children, or at least measures to ensure their safety. But her attempts were unsuccessful, leaving the children trapped in a precarious environment. After uncovering Lamora Williams's troubled background, investigators took the next crucial step, questioning the father and the surviving child, both of whom carried pieces of the horrifying puzzle. When asked about his relationship with Lamora after their separation, Jamil Penn revealed that she had made it nearly impossible for him to see his children. Their interactions were limited to heated arguments, as she used the children to manipulate him, hoping to pressure him into reconciliation. She knew how deeply he loved his children and used that attachment to her advantage. Jamil also shared a chilling admission. On the day his sons died, he had been near their home and considered visiting them. However, he decided against it, fearing another confrontation with Lamora. Just 2 days prior, on October 11th, they had a heated exchange that ended with Lamora sending him an angry, expletive-filled message. Jamil admitted he hadn't seen his children in over a month, a regret that now weighed heavily on him. Then came the harrowing moment he recounted the events of that tragic day. Lamora had called him, telling him their children were gone and urging him to come home. But Jamil, knowing her history of manipulation, assumed it was another ploy. He refused to believe her. In response, Lamora video-called him, showing the unthinkable, his children lying lifeless beneath the oven, their bodies bearing signs of burns. Collaborating with child protection specialists, investigators turned to the surviving child, Jamil Penn Jr. Despite his young age, the boy carried haunting memories of that night. In a calm yet eerie recounting, he described his brothers entering the oven. When asked directly whether his mother had placed them inside, he fell silent, his lips trembling, before whispering his wish to see his father. While investigators awaited the autopsy report, a close friend of Lamora, identified as Smith, approached them with a startling account. Smith stated that Lamora had called her before contacting Jamil or the police. During the call, Lamora reportedly said, "I can't do it no more," and confessed that both boys were dead. Smith had urged her to call the authorities immediately, This testimony, combined with statements from friends, neighbors, and Jamil, began to shape a damning narrative. Lamora's emotional unraveling, her inability to cope after her separation, and her use of the children to manipulate Jamil painted a clear picture of motive. But one critical question remained. What exactly happened that night? The answers arrived with the medical examiner's findings. The report confirmed that both boys had sustained severe burns. Their heads had likely been placed inside the flipped oven. The cause of death was attributed to thermal changes caused by prolonged exposure to dry heat. The level of damage suggested they had been exposed to the oven's heat for a significant amount of time. The report's grim details gave investigators the evidence they needed. Lamora Williams was formally charged and taken into custody, held at Fulton County Jail. As Lamora sat behind bars, the devastating story of the children's deaths rippled through the Atlanta community, eventually capturing the attention of the media. Shock and sorrow swept through the neighborhood, where neighbors and family gathered at the home to mourn the unimaginable loss. Jamil's friends and family expressed their heartbreak over losing two young lives so tragically. Neighbors spoke of their grief and disbelief, struggling to comprehend how such a tragedy could occur so close to home. In an act of profound compassion, funeral director Willie Watkins offered to cover the funeral expenses entirely. He also secured a burial plot for the boys at Southview Cemetery, with both services provided free of charge. When asked about his generosity, Watkins simply said, "It's not actually what I decided to do. It's what God laid on my heart." On October 17, 2017, the community gathered for the funeral of the two young boys. Their photos were placed on top of their closed caskets, a painful reminder of lives lost too soon. Family, friends, and neighbors came together to mourn, their sorrow palpable in the air as the children were laid to rest. Following Lamora Williams' arrest, media attention turned toward the Williams family. Brenda Williams, Lamora's mother, spoke to the press in an attempt to explain what had happened. She revealed that her daughter struggled with severe mental health issues and had displayed troubling behavior toward her children. "I reported her to DFACS," Brenda confessed, referring to the Department of Family and Child Services. "After her father passed, I told them everything. I begged them to either give me custody of the children or remove them from her care. I was scared she was losing her mind. She wasn't feeding them properly, and I was worried something bad would happen." Tabitha Hollingsworth, Lamora's sister, echoed these concerns. She had problems. The truth is, the system failed her. Despite these revelations, investigators pressed forward, convinced that Lamora had intentionally harmed her children. The case against Lamora Williams grew stronger as detectives pieced together the timeline and gathered witness testimonies. Lamora initially told investigators at the scene that a cousin had been caring for her children. However, this contradicted her emergency call, where she claimed to have left the children with a caregiver from midday until 11:30 p.m., only to return and find two of them dead. Between midnight on October 12, 2017, and 11 p.m. The following day, it was alleged that Lamora had intentionally and knowingly placed her children in the oven and turned it on. The arrest warrant stated that the children were found inside the flipped oven. Medical examiners determined that the children's injuries were caused by prolonged exposure to dry heat. The report described thermal changes, consistent with extended contact with high temperatures, requiring a significant amount of time to reach the level of injury observed. Investigators pointed to Lamora's strained relationship with Jamil Penn. They believed she had acted out of desperation, using the children as leverage in an attempt to force him back into her life. Despite the mounting evidence, Lamora maintained her innocence and denied any involvement in her children's deaths. In February 2018, Lamora was indicted on multiple charges, including 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of concealing the death of another, 1 count of making a false statement, additional charges of cruelty to children. Her defense team argued that her mental health history rendered her incapable of fully understanding her actions. They also claimed that Lamora was uncommunicative and often unresponsive during their interactions, highlighting her diminished awareness. After reviewing the evidence and hearing arguments from both sides, the judge reached a decision. In November 2024, Lamora Williams was convicted on 14 charges. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 35 years. While Lamora began her life sentence, Jamil Penn faced the daunting task of rebuilding his life and caring for his surviving son. Haunted by the trauma of witnessing the crime, Jamil Penn Jr. struggled to move on. He frequently asked about his brothers, unable to forget the horrific events of that day. In a heartfelt plea, Jamil launched a campaign on GoFundMe to raise funds for therapy for his son. He shared his grief in a poignant message. Jamil Penn Jr. will never get to see his brothers again. I will never see my 2 youngest sons again, all because of mental illness. I am not the same person, but I have to be strong for the only kids I have left. Rest easy to my 2 kings, Jakarta Rashard Penn and Kayante Andre Penn. If you notice unusual behavior, signs of neglect, or any harm directed at a child, don't stay silent. Your actions could prevent a tragedy. If you are aware of a parent struggling with mental health issues that may affect their ability to care for their children, reaching out to the proper authorities can provide them with the help they need. There are resources available to assist in such situations. For immediate support or to report child abuse, contact the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD. This hotline is available 24/7 and offers confidential counseling and immediate assistance. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic violence, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-79-SAFE, 1-800-797-233. They provide support to families in crisis and are ready to help anytime. To report concerns about a child's safety or well-being, reach out to your local Department of Family and Child Services, DFACS. Every state has a dedicated office ready to investigate and intervene when needed. Your vigilance and willingness to act can make all the difference in a child's life. Be the voice that speaks up when they cannot. Together, we can ensure they grow up in safety and love. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. See you in the next video.